that you all are here to listen to Professor Sujata Ban, an expert in this field. And I'll soon be telling you something about her. And we also have Mr. Amandeep, who will be doing the interpretation. I'm sure you are able to see him, sign language interpretation. Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome to this inaugural, I would say, live webinar of our World Dyslexia Awareness Month long celebration to celebrate people with dyslexia and also to spread awareness about dyslexia, to advocate for the rights of people with dyslexia. And it gives me great pleasure to have Professor Sujata Bhan, Head, Department of Special Education, SNDT Women's University here, as someone to set off the tone for the month with a topic, with the topic on unfolding NEP 2020. I'm sure all of you here know what it is, what NEP is. For the ones who don't, it's the National Education Policy. And we are so glad that Professor Sujata Ban could spare her precious time to be with us, to share with us her knowledge and understanding and her expert opinions and views on NEP 2020. Professor Sujata Ban needs no introduction to people in the field of special education. And of course, outside of special education too. But for those who do not know her, she's an expert in this field. We've known her. Our association goes long back with her, and she refuses to be introduced. She did not want us to have a long introduction, but two things I would like to mention about her here is that in October 2020, she was nominated by the Ministry of Education to be on the expert committee for development of e-content curriculum. And she's also on the expert committee of the Rehabilitation Council of India, and plays a major role in almost all of the policy making decisions related to special education and specific learning disability. We also have Mr. Amandeep with us here, who will be doing the sign language interpretation, and I'm sure you are able to view him on screen. This is for the benefit of our peers, brothers, sisters, colleagues who have difficulty with hearing impairment. So over to you, Professor Sujata Ban. I'm sure we all, like me, everybody here is waiting eagerly to listen to what you have to unfold for us today.
Thank you, Masrat, for those very kind words. Thank you, Kate Karawala, for giving me this opportunity to be here. It's really an honor to be associated with MDA, which is an organization which has done tremendous work in the field of learning disability, the first organization to bring forth so many changes, revolutionary changes. So it's really, really an honor. And I just hope I'm able to do justice to what you have asked me to speak about. Thank you once again. So I'll, without wasting much time, I'll share my screen and let me know if you can see it. Can you all see that? Hello?
Yes, we can.
All right. We can. All right. Okay. So I would like the participants to give their answers in the chat box. You know, if we ask you to unmute and speak, it may be a little disturbing. So just write your answers in the chat box whenever I'm interacting with you. This is the only drawback I feel in this online webinars, that the connect that you establish with your people is missing. Well, we have to make do in the present circumstances what best we can. So having said that, the topic that has been given to me is Unfolding National Education Policy 2020. So I begin with my overview would be the highlights of the policy, the role of teacher as per the new education policy, and the initiatives taken by Government of India, Rehabilitation Council of India, and NCT, National Council for Teacher Education. And I begin with a small quiz for all of you. Just tell me, what are the 5 educational pillars of National Education Policy 2020? There's been a lot of buzz around this policy, and I'm sure all of you must be having some idea about what it is. So if anybody can tell me the basic pillars on which this policy stands. You can try even with giving 1 or 2, whatever you can think of. Has anybody seen the policy? Access, good. Equal opportunity to all, okay. Yes, anybody else? Affordability, inclusive classes, affordability, yes. Free education, affordability, yes. Accountability, very good, yes, yes. Correct, correct. Anybody else? Quality, absolutely right, absolutely right. Okay, you're quite there. I'm glad, I'm glad. Okay, let's have a look at it. What is it? The NEP 2020 is actually made in sync with the Sustainable Development Goals. So it focuses on, or it is based on the premises of these 5 pillars, which talk about accessibility, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. Now, we understand these terms fully well, but when as teachers we try to implement it in our education system, we have to ensure that it is accessible to one and all. Equity is not equality. Equal opportunities is not what we are talking about here. Equity is giving them what they want, the way they want, not just giving them education, but the way they need it. That is what is equity. Quality education, particularly when we talk about children with disabilities, many a times we compromise on the quality. We are giving them education and we feel we are doing a big job and doing them a favor. But we have to ensure what we give them is quality education. Affordability, because we see that as per RPDWD Act, as per the Act also, it is the person's choice where he wants to take admission. But we see there is a lot of discrepancy between the affluent schools who are catering to the affluent and there are schools who are catering to the poor, and the quality of those schools may not be up to the mark. So whichever school I want to send my child to should be affordable. Education should not be expensive and only for the elite. And very important in today's time is accountability. The teachers, all professionals actually need to be accountable for whatever work they are doing, right? So this is very, very critical, very, very crucial. Now, when we look at the education policy, this is not the first time India has churned out an education policy. Our first policy came in 1968. Then it came in 1986. And after that, look at the long gap. In 2020, we've got our new education policy. What explains this long gap? Was it complacency on the part of the government towards education of children? Or what was it? Was it like politically motivated that nobody cared about the education of the children? So we are fortunate that finally a very good policy, which really looks very promising, that has come to us, and it is for us now to make sure that it gets implemented. It's very important for teachers to understand the policy and to see that how what seems to be, huge and unreachable and not doable, to make it doable, to make it practical. It is for people like us to think about it, brainstorm it, and make it doable. Now, this policy particularly focuses on accessibility and equality in education because it does not segregate special education and general education in the real sense of the word. It's talking about good education, which is good for everybody, including one and all. So that is what is beautiful about this policy, that from the very beginning, from the very start, it's talking about education for all. So make provisions wherever we require that can be catered to or given to who are in, kind of high support needs. But don't focus only on those. There are many more children who can be included in the regular classroom. So the whole premise is that, which is very beautiful in this policy. Now, another question for you. If you have seen the policy, I'm sure many of you have. So what is the new NEP format? What is the new NEP format? Yes? Can anybody tell me? How is it different from the earlier ones? What is the format of this policy? Okay, those are the highlights. How have they segregated the sections? Let me put the question this way. What are the sections in this policy when we cater to different segments of education? Okay, all right, never mind. I'll give you the format and then maybe you would know what I'm talking about. It's 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Have you heard about that? I'm sure all teachers are aware of it. This is the major change in this policy. The format is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. So what does it mean? What does it stand for? It has divided the whole education into 4 sections. The first is the fundamental years, right? From nursery to class 2 for age 4 to 8 years. A very critical time for setting the fundamentals of literacy. Okay. Then the second section is from 9 to 11 years, what is called the preparatory years, which includes class 3, 4, and 5. Then there is middle section, which is for the years 12 to 14 years, including class 6, 7, and 8. And the secondary section from 15 to 18 years, class 9, 10, 11, 12. And the cabinet has recently approved this whole policy and particularly applauding this segmentation of the education system, right? So that we don't miss out on anything. And then there is one more very important thing in this policy, which is various highlights. Some of them I've tried to put, which I feel are very, very important. The board exams, which we used to have in 10th standard, are now going to be only held for the 12th grade. There is 4 years of college degree up to 5th grade. Somebody mentioned earlier that the child has to be taught in his mother tongue, local language, and national language. Now, see, in this policy, there are no separate mention of special children per se, but we have to see that whatever is mentioned has huge implications for our children. So we need to be thorough. We need to understand this policy in depth. Now, when they say till 5th grade, the child needs to be taught in mother tongue. Now, can you imagine a child with learning disability who has problems when he comes from a different background? Then when we give him education in his mother tongue, won't he understand better? इस समय मेरी ऑडियंस में अगर कुछ लोग ऐसे हैं जिन्हें हिंदी में ज्यादा समझ में आता है, ज्यादा कंफर्टेबल है, अगर मैं हिंदी में स्विच करती हूं तो उन्हें मेरी बात बेहतर समझ आएगी. Right? So imagine a child with learning disability who have already got problems in languages. Now, when we tell them, okay, you drop a language as a concession, but if the teacher teaches them in the language that they use at home, what an advantage it is for them. Right? So like that, there are so many advantages of this policy for children with special needs. Examination is semester system. It's not annual anymore. It will be from 9th to 12th class. It will be in the semester format, and has been proven. All universities across have moved to semester system. But in schools, we were still following the annual system. Because of the advantage of having exams in semester form, even in the schools, in the higher classes, it has been advised to switch to semester system. When we talk about, excuse me, college education, certificate is given in the first year. Diploma is given in the second year. Degree in the third year. So you see the flexibility. That is another beauty of this policy, that it's very flexible. It is focusing on flexibility. And when we talk about special education, we talk about flexibility, right? Now, those who want to go in higher education will have to do 4 years of graduation. And then the master's is only of 1 year. Students will be able to do other courses in between by taking a break of a limited time from the first course. So the rigidity which was there earlier in our education system, this policy is focusing on doing away with rigidity and making it more student-centric. E-courses, a lot of emphasis now in the present times. The pandemic has escalated the need. It was already, ICT was already a part of our education system, but now with this pandemic, it's become all the more important that we integrate ICT. So e-courses have to be made in regional languages so that more and more people can benefit from it. So we see that this policy is absolutely student-centric and ensuring that all that is being given is according to the needs of the children. It's not, we have this very famous line, teach me the way I learn. So the policy is in line with that teach the children, give them what they need. For some reason, my video is again turned off and I tried to turn it on. All right, yeah, I think now you can see. Okay. Yeah. Now look at this picture. What does this bring to your mind related to the policy? Related to this policy, does anything ring a bell when you look at this picture? Okay. All right. But I request you all, you really need to have a look at the policy and understand the policy. As teachers, we really, really need to do that. Just 1 second. Just 1 second. There is an important. 1 minute. Yeah, sorry. Focus is on early childhood care and education, which was missing in the earlier policy. So again, this is a beautiful, very important move made by this policy where they are focusing on ECCE. Play-based, activity-based preparatory services will enable such a child to develop communication, early language, literacy, and numeracy. This has been focused in 1.2 chapter. Now, again, I want to bring your attention to our children with disabilities. This is again a critical time for our early intervention. Now, when the policy is highlighting this point, it becomes like, by default, we have an advantage that if our children are identified at a young age, early intervention will be possible. And I don't need to elaborate on the need of early intervention here. We all are aware of that. So by focusing on this period of life in the policy, it will be mandatory. And that will help us special educators, professionals in the field, to get our children at risk and provide them the necessary intervention. So again, this is to our advantage greatly. Now, in the policy, there is a lot of emphasis on the underrepresented groups. We become a part of that group, right? They are not focusing on children with disabilities per se, but they are talking about all the children, focusing on gender identities, where we see that so many places there is still a lot of discrimination when it comes to girl child. The education of the girl child is not a priority in many places, many states in our country, even till today. Transgender education, nobody even thinks about it. And now people are becoming aware of it. And now slowly, people are trying that we have to include them and they should not be left in the margin. I would like to share one. It's not to this, but just it's a piece of information I think you must know, and you can spread it around, that in SNDT, for our distance learning programs, transgenders are now welcome to that course, which was not there earlier. It just happened in 2020 that now we are welcoming transgender community in our distance learning program. So it's a very big move. So that is how the national education policy is focusing on including all marginalized socio-cultural identities, whether they come from OBC or reserve category or migrants or Muslims, they're all included. Again, urban and poor, that demarcation, it's trying to do away with that focusing on those who come from very poor background need to be included in regular education with everybody else. And our children with special needs are definitely part of the policy, and they are focusing on all 21 disabilities as per RPWD Act. So, which is again a very good thing for us, that nobody will be left behind. Earlier we had only 7 disabilities, right? Now we have 21 disabilities, and thankfully, the policy mentions all the 21 disabilities as per the Act have to be included in the education system. Now, they also focus on school readiness programs with the collaboration of peers and parents, which will enable children with special needs to face school environment effectively. So again, see, this is a very important and critical point for us teachers to understand. So when we talk about education of children, we do say, involve the community. Identify people from the community, use them as your resource, use non-disabled children in the community as your resource. And the policies focusing on that in the chapter 2.5 that include them in preparing children, particularly those with special needs, for school programs. So we have to latch on to these things. Alternative forms of schools is also mentioned to preserve alternative pedagogical styles for children with benchmark disabilities. Now, this is a common concern for people who come from special education field, that, oh, what will become of us? Will we become redundant? Everybody is talking about inclusion, and now the education policy is also talking about education for all, inclusive education. Please, we are here to stay. But our objective should also be not to hold on to special children as our property and not letting them go. Our objective should be to prepare them for inclusive education. That is what will prepare them for life. But yes, there will be children who will have high support needs, who will need more assistance than what will be provided in regular schools. And particularly today, how many regular schools are actually ready for children who have moderate and severe disabilities? They are not. So the policy is making provision for them, and through alternative pedagogy, through alternative service delivery, but no child should be left behind. Education, the way that will benefit the child, has to be provided to the child. So this policy is not restrictive in its nature. It's a myth that it's only talking about inclusive education. Our children are neglected. Nobody is mentioning what will happen to our special children. No, read between the lines. It's there. The policy is supporting all children. Scholarship to the disadvantaged children and cash incentive to parents. This is also mentioned there in 6.4 chapters, because they feel that when we do that, It will encourage enrollment. I have personally seen that many a times parents are putting their child in the school only for the advantage of getting the midday meal. They come from such poor backgrounds. So even getting that meal is a huge incentive for them to send the child to school. So be it. At least the child is coming to school. At least he will get some intervention. At least he will get the education. So these are important points. Another thing that the policy highlights, which is in our favor, is that no rigid separation between academic streams, extracurricular and vocational streams in schools. We all know the moment a child doesn't perform very well academically and we say, okay, go for some vocational stream, everybody has a different view, a different look when they look at that child. You attach a stigma, you have a different point of view about that child because we don't consider that to be important or good enough. So when the education system by default inherently is made like that, that everybody has to go through a vocational training, then nobody will raise that eyebrow. My child is going for vocational training just like everybody else. So what a beautiful move that is, and how does it help us? Vocational education will start from class 6 with provision for internship depending upon the interest of the child, whether it's carpentry, whether it's computer, whether it's whatever. It's not limited just to candle making and bag making. A variety of trades will be exposed to the children. So can you imagine how our child, who perhaps cannot go very far academically, is still learning something which will make him empowered, economically independent, and will not be looked down by the community, because there are other children, the non-disabled children are also going through that training. And when this child finds himself, he finds his groove, his niche, and then he can further excel in that, right? So this is also a very, very important move. Then 360 degrees assessment. The focus should not be only on academics. The focus has to be on complete overall development for all the children, So when we do this 360-degree assessment, it means we have to look at the child in a holistic manner. So again, our child has an advantage there. There are variety of ways of assessing the child, what the policy is talking about, and also complete assessment. So a child who has a disability, cannot perform in a conventional manner, will be given an alternative to show that he knows, because learning outcomes have to be achieved. We are not trying to make education simple or just by the way for the child. Yes, there will be learning outcomes for every child matching to their ability to function. We cannot reduce our expectation of the child. The quality of the education for a special child just comes down when we have no expectation from the child. So the policy is not saying that at all, but making it, again, flexible as per the need, as per the functionality of the child. So again, we have an advantage there. Role of the teacher in this policy is very beautifully highlighted. What does it say? It focuses on 5 E's. It says, gone are the days when the teacher was considered a sage on the stage. The teacher today is a guide by the side. We have, when we say facilitator, the teacher is a facilitator. What do we mean by that? These 5 E's have beautifully put that essence of the teacher of today. The teacher has to be empathetic, embracing, engaging, expert, and empowered. Just to let me have a child in my class who may be having diverse needs, it's not enough. Unless I understand his or her needs and tailor make my, the education for that child according to his or her needs. I do not have this attitude of charity, sympathy. I embrace the child. There is a difference between welcoming and embracing. We are not just here, patronizing the child with a disability. We accept him the way he is and embrace him with all that he comes with. And it's our duty, whatever we are doing in the child is interesting, engaging each and every child in the class. When we look at the definition of inclusive education as per the RPWD Act, it says very clearly that every child in the class has to be meaningfully engaged and empowered, engaged and included. He has to participate, right? So we have to think of ways, how can I engage this child in my class in whatever topic I'm teaching, so that he's completely there with me, right? I need to be an expert, then only I will have that confidence. The teacher needs to be an expert in that field that she's bringing in the class. Little knowledge is dangerous. And don't again underestimate the today's children particularly. A time will come, I feel, if we don't upskill ourselves, we'll become redundant. Children have all the information at the tip of their finger, just a button away. So how do we bring that information in the class? How do we present that in the class, which is engaging for them, and they value as that, no, this teacher is bringing in more than what is available on the net, for example. Teachers need to feel empowered, and they will feel empowered if they continue their learning. Once we do our D.Ed or B.Ed and we put a lid on our learning, gone are those days. We have to constantly evolve ourselves. We have to constantly upskill ourselves. And that's what will make us feel empowered. And that's what will help the children believe in us. And trust me, if you're a confident, expert teacher who knows her subject well, all the children respect you. No child in today's time will switch off the mic and switch off the camera if they know that they're going to get something of value from you in that 30-minute class, right? So a lot of effort has to be put in by the teacher. Now, this policy also focuses a lot on teacher empowerment. Role of the teacher, yes, but also not undermining what the teacher does, not, belittling her. Sometimes teachers definitely they feel that we are not given any value. We are not considered, that we are slogging, but yet we don't get that kind of respect. The policy highlights that, what is that which will make the teachers feel empowered? One is they have to continuously go for their professional development. Every year, teachers have to go for 50 hours of CPD, that is continuous professional development. For special teachers, we have CRE, but there was nothing like that for regular teachers. Now they are going to club the two, that every teacher will be expected every year to at least show 50 hours of professional development. And if the teachers are doing that, they are performing well, their appraisals are being done, career growth and leadership roles have to be given to the teachers. So there should be automatic, like in colleges, we have continuous, advancements. There is a scheme where from assistant teacher, you become associate teacher, and then you become a professor. There is a career advancement scheme. So even in schools, there should be some such scheme which motivates the teacher. There is something to look forward to. And when it comes to assessments, there should be continuous formative and adaptive assessments, which should be competency-based learning. The focus of learning today is competency-based, which means that the child is competent enough to stand on his own feet and earn a living. Don't just give them theory. It's very important today to, for example, give them entrepreneurial skills, so that we give them that exposure, that they are able to not just accumulate degrees, but when they pass out, they are able to do something on their own. So make them competent to face the world with necessary skills is the focus of the policy. A lot of autonomy is advocated for the teachers to use innovative pedagogy. So teachers who are, when we talk about appraisal of teachers in this policy, it says the teachers, unless they are given that autonomy, they will just follow the same patterns, same conventional methods, what was being done 50 years ago. So give the teachers autonomy. So a lot is being said about how the administrators, how the management of the school has to look at the teachers, where a lot of this flexibility and also a lot of resources are provided to the teacher, so that she can be a master, a manager of her class in those 30 minutes. She can do what she thinks will be the best for the child in her class, because the teacher who's actually working with the child knows what is good for her children, right? So give a lot of autonomy to the teachers. And you have seen that a lot of time of the teachers goes into the administrative work. Even one of the reasons for the SSA to actually flop was those SSA teachers were just doing administrative work, having left little time, or I would say many a times no time to work with the child. So the policy has taken notice of that and cognizance of that, and has said that administrative work should be reduced for the teachers so that they focus more on the academic work. They focus more on, providing better and better teaching in their classrooms. Now, what are the challenges ahead? Particularly, I'm focusing on the challenge which we face today. When we look at this pandemic time, our education has really taken a huge hit. The children in general, all, and more so our children with disabilities, have really, really taken a huge hit. Now, also our teachers have come out as, the frontiers, and they have adapted themselves to the situation. I will not deny that. I will not take it away from the teachers. Kudos to them. But still, the reality is that still that lack of contact between the teacher and the child has taken its toll on the students. One of the most important things, one of the most important adverse things that has happened is the break in routine. Because of the pandemic, because of this extended lockdown, the children locked up in their homes, a special child, a regular child, I have seen the impact across, and obviously more pronounced in our children with disabilities, because of this break in routine, because of this lack of socialization with other children, because of being cooped up into the four walls. Now imagine a place like Bombay, where we live in small flats, right? So the parents are finding it really a struggle to manage the child in the class. The child is finding it so difficult to manage these online classes. A lot is happening around in the house. They are distracted all the time. Our special children are lacking, that the therapies are not being given to them. Online therapy, can it ever compensate? Can it ever be matched to a physical one-to-one therapy? It cannot, right? And the assessments, how many assessments are being done today? Online assessment, again, can we match that to the real face-to-face assessment? So you can see that today's child in this pandemic has regressed. All children have regressed, and our children have regressed even more. The teachers are constantly struggling and trying, I think, really too hard to match, to come up and to rise to the occasion. Kudos to that. But there are many teachers who still are struggling because of lack of digital literacy. It's not just about you and me. Look at the teachers who are in remote areas. All of them do not have digital literacy. They do not have the smartphones. They are dealing with salary cuts, even in cities like Mumbai. I'm not giving full salary to my teachers while they are really, really working so hard with our Arushi children, but my hands are tied. The mental stress a teacher is going through today at home, with the home responsibilities, with the work responsibilities, they're overburdened. We are supposed to be available round the clock. It's not a 9 to 2 job anymore for teachers. They're under parental scrutiny. The parents are hovering around all the time. So you can imagine the stress the teachers are also going through. So one part of teachers are like waiting and dying to get back to the schools. One lot of teachers, one lot of children, one lot of parents are waiting. When will this end? Right? Now, when they are working from home, what is the scenario? How the education has been affected? A study was done by Azim Premji Foundation, and in 2021. So I'm just going to share some alarming facts of this study. 320 million children in India have not stepped into a classroom for over a year now, right? And sorry. Over 240 million school-going children have been adversely affected by the pandemic. Imagine how are they going to make up for this regression. Only 11.58% schools across the country have internet facilities. Can you imagine? Just about 12%. And we, because we live in this metropolitan city where we all assume that it's hunky-dory all over the country. It's not like that. Several states have failed to spend allocated funds towards developing ICT facilities in schools. They're not able to do that for whatever reason. The funds are there in many states, but they are not being utilized. 92% of children have lost at least one specific language ability, and 82% have lost at least one specific mathematical ability from the previous year across all classes. So can you imagine, how do we bridge this gap? The regression in special schools of special children is going to be even worse. You know, I run a small center, Arushi, and I'm struggling to get the parents to send their children for online classes. They are not coming because the parents do not have the time to sit with the child. They do not have the gadgets. They do not have internet facility. It all costs money. So there are a few children who have just not attended a single class. And can you imagine when they come back, the amount of gap they will be having from where the rest of the children are and where those children who have missed the school completely. So can you look at these 320 million children? What will be their status? It is really alarming. It's really, really alarming. Now, this is a situation we have to find solutions. It's nobody else who's going to come up with solutions. We only have to think, brainstorm, discuss, and come up with something. So as teachers all over the world, we feel that we can still make a difference. Because I can still read, I can still write, I can still share, I can still reach out in whichever way possible. It's me as a teacher who has to find the solutions. I cannot wait for the government to give me the solutions. I have to find it, but it's my child. We have that close affiliation with the child, right? So we have to come up with solutions. And yes, teachers have come up with solutions. Teachers have come forward with n number of ideas. Creativity is at its top right now, all over. I mean, I visit so many places. I see what kind of work teachers and how quickly they have adapted. So really, hats off to the teachers, and we have to go on upskilling ourselves. We have to not kind of settle down and say, okay, we have managed in a year and a half and we are doing pretty good job. No, we have to constantly evolve ourselves. We have to constantly upskill ourselves. We have to constantly provide opportunities to the teachers to upskill themselves. So from the management point of view, focus on your teachers, motivate your teachers, and provide them with the opportunities of upskilling themselves. Use this pandemic as a source of strength and a catalyst for innovation. It's happening, as I just said, that it is happening. So we have to be more and more innovative because the bridge, the gap is too wide. And we have to climb many steps to reach to where we want to see ourselves. So we have to be innovative. We have to think out of the box, and we have to not give up. Very importantly, we need to collaborate with parents. The parents are also struggling a lot from various points of view. They are economically hit with the pandemic. They are struggling. So they're, all the time, the whole family at your back, they are dealing with a lot of stress. So we need to reach out to the parents. We need to hold their hands. We need to explain to them. We need to basically partner with them to help this child come out of this pandemic and be again where he was and take him forward. A lot of mental health and psychosocial needs have, come out, as we say, it's the fallout of this pandemic. A lot of mental health issues have been spoken about. You read about them. So we as teachers have to address that as well. I may not be a psychologist, I may not be a counselor, but as a teacher, still you'll have to play that role of a counselor and a psychologist. Not professionally, but just reaching out, but just connecting to them, by just listening to them and be empathetic. What best a teacher can do is just be a good listener and just understand, not be judgmental about the parents. Oh, for example, I just said many parents, they're just not sending their children. How much my teachers have tried to reach out. They don't have to pay any fees. We are getting support from Tata Trust. It's not about money. It's just that they have so many other compulsions at home front because of which they just cannot. So we can't be judgmental. We have to be empathetic. And yet try finding. Now teachers are vaccinated. Can they go to their homes? Can they help them at home? I mean, we have to again think how we can reach out to every single child in a different manner, in an innovative manner, and also understand where their frustration is coming from, where their mental issues are coming from, and be very, very aware of that. Organize counseling sessions for all stakeholders. Our teachers are also being affected. So as administrators, don't take your teachers for granted. Please be there, support your teachers. They're also going through tremendous stress due to this pandemic. So arrange programs just for your teachers as well, addressing their issues, or just a social event where all teachers just come forward and have a good time. Think about these things again, because teachers need the support of the administrators. All right. And of course, as I said, for the parents and students, definitely yes, but don't, ignore the teachers. Now we are kind of thinking about reopening, right? I'm still not sure when we'll really reopen, when all the children will come to the school, because right now we are talking about standard 9, 10, 11, 12, but we want all our children back at the school. So how does this new normal look like? It is again a big phase of uncertainty, right? There are a lot of concerns. When we look at our children, we have to see we are having a large number of students in our class. So how are we going to maintain that social distance? How are we going to maintain school hygiene? Like, I'm from the university department, I make no qualms in saying and in admitting in this platform that in this pandemic, in this lockdown, in this shutdown period, the whole university looks like it's in shambles. It's dirty. It's not well kept. So the idea of coming back is scary. So similarly in the school, the kind of cleanliness, the kind of hygiene that will have to maintain, are the schools ready for that? How many of our children will understand that you cannot remove the mask? How many of them will understand and hold on to that masking, will hold on to whatever the protocols are? How many of them will understand and abide by the protocol? How many of them will actually wash their hands every half an hour or whatever? How will the teachers monitor that? These are the parental concerns. How many parents are actually ready today to send their children to school? Not many. What I said earlier, many parents are waiting to send their children. I will not take that statement back, but there are still many parents who still have huge concerns, and more so the parents of special children. Are all your teachers double vaccinated? My child is not vaccinated. Are all the paraprofessionals and other people? There are so many staff in the school. Is everybody safe? Is my child safe? So parents are still very, very reluctant. That is their concern. The school is concerned because ultimately it's the school's responsibility. So what if anything happens and one case and it spreads? Who will be held responsible? So the schools are also, treading this path with a lot of caution and medical concerns. Definitely, the government is concerned that what if any third variant comes, third wave comes? They're all the time talking about variants. Nobody is sure, and the whole environment. We do talk about new normal, but new normal is actually not normal. It's very, very uncertain and scary time, because we have seen what the second wave has done, right? So we are still not prepared, but I guess we have to take a chance. We have to step forward slowly and steadily, not all together. But see, again, when we say partly, Now, a teacher has to be ready to have some children in the class and some children online at the same time, because no teacher will, it will be practically impossible to have a session online at one time and then the same session offline at another time. That's not practically possible. So simultaneously, she will have to do online with some children and offline with some other group of children. So that kind of technology, that kind of arrangement in every classroom, in every school, seems far-fetched right now. So yet, as I said, we are not sure how we are going to deal with it. But we have to start thinking again, planning about it, because I guess this situation is here to stay for some time, and we have to find solutions to this. Now, coming back again to the roadmap for implementation of NEP. This policy, when you read it, and I request all of you, please read it. For teachers, it's very essential because it's affecting us. Read it. How do we see this very fairy tale kind of a policy being actually implemented? It seems far-fetched. It seems very lofty. It seems very difficult, but even though whatever it may be, we have to implement it because the essence of the policy is beautiful, and if implemented in its totality, will bring a major change, major change in our education system. It is a very well drafted education policy. So a lot is being done in the country today. A lot of committees are being formed, a lot of discussions are being done how to implement. Now, the roadmap, the logistics, the workings, the nitty-gritty of this policy is being discussed today. Now, I will share just a few things related to that I'm privy to, that I'm part of. Association of Indian Universities, AIU as it is called, is constituted by Disability Welfare Committee. Now, they are asking Rehabilitation of Council of India to develop training programs for in-service school teachers. A lot of such training programs have been already developed. A 5-day training, 15-day training, they're already developed. In fact, the 15-day training program has already been implemented in some states. But now the government of India is saying that we need to expedite the implementation of those training programs for in-service school teachers, and not just school teachers. Faculty development programs have to be developed for higher educational institutes as well, because again, we somehow see that there is a huge dropout of our children when they move from school to college. How many of our children actually go to college? Because again, the training, the teaching, the attitude, and whatever concessions, etc., are not disabled friendly at higher education level. So to create that awareness, like it's been done at a war footing now, that develop faculty development programs for higher educational staff. So university staff, college staff, they need to, it has to be mandatory. Like how we have CRE mandatory, similarly, the government is saying attending these programs will be linked to their career advancement schemes. Like university and college teachers have to do refresher courses for getting their career advancements. And now the government is saying link it to the training in inclusive education. Internship opportunities in disability sector is again very important factor which has been highlighted by the government of India, that all professionals, highlighting engineers, management trainees, have to be placed, attach them to organizations working for people with disabilities. For example, a person who's doing, let's say, management in IIM, he gets attached to any organization, for example, MDA, does internship there, understands what it is to be a person with learning disability, right from their educational rehabilitation to vocational rehabilitation, teaching them life skills and empowering them. This person gets training in that. He understands. So when we have more and more people out in the community who understand disability, the inclusion that we talk about will happen in the true sense of the word. There will be job opportunities because now I'm aware that a person with learning disability can do this. So why should I deny him the job opportunity, right? Engineers will understand how they have to make products which have to be disabled friendly. Accessibility in not just physical terms, accessibility in the use of every possible gadget. And that will come when an engineer understands the disability, whether it's architect, whether it's a doctor, all professionals need to have compulsory internship for them in some organization in the field of working in the field of uh, rehabilitation. Now, just see what an important, remarkable step that is. This is, I'm not saying it from my, it's not like, I'm creating it. It is stated by the government of India. So what I want to say here is that we should not be pessimistic. The government is doing its bit. We as teachers have to take that responsibility. What can I do in my capacity, just being a classroom teacher? Me, just being the head of the department. What can I do to fulfill that policy? What has been envisaged there in my capacity? What little things can I do? I think that's where I always lay emphasis on. Be the change that you want to see, right? It's not just a cliched sentence. If you think about it, each one of us can make a difference in whatever little way it may be. Very important and significant thing, yet again, is an MOU between NCT and RCI. Now, you all know that our educational courses, the B.Ed programs, D.Ed programs come under RCI, and the general ed program come under, all the programs come under NCT. Now, the government of India is saying sign a memorandum of understanding, which is a huge, huge step. We are in that direction. Where is my slide gone? Sorry, if you can stop the screen sharing, we will be able, should I stop screen share? Hello? Hello, Masrat?
Sujata?
Yeah?
We are not able, your screen, your slides have not been changing. So you need
really?
to...
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God. When was
we
that
were
last?
Stuck on the pair, the EC, after the ECCE, it has not...
Why didn't you tell me so?
Yeah, we were trying to message you.
Oh, shit. Oh my God. You have not seen, again,
That's
second.
okay, that's okay. But
one second.
would like to just...
No, 1 second. Let me just, can you see this slide?
Now we can. Okay, now we can.
Oh, now you can. All right.
But up to now, it had stuck on one.
Oh, really?
One of the earlier slides.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Just 1 second. Just 1 second. You know what I'll do is end show, and I'll go on because it's really sad. I'll quickly make a name. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Just tell me where it stopped. Can you see this? Were you able to see this?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Were you able to see this?
It went up to that father and child. Yes. The next one.
Okay. I'm
ECCE.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, over here. This is where it was.
Okay. Oh, you didn't see
Okay,
this.
now,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
That's okay.
Okay. All right. So basically, I was talking about the underrepresented groups. Then I was again talking about the school readiness program and alternative forms of education.
Right.
Okay. Then I was again focusing on the highlights where vocational education is given due importance and the role of the teacher, the 5 E's. Okay. And I explained about the 5 E's being empathetic, embracing, engaging, empowering, and not being the sage on the stage, but the guide by the side. And then I spoke about the teacher empowerment, how we have to empower our teachers today.
Yes.
Then the challenges ahead, where I spoke about the pandemic, how it has affected the children and the teachers. Then I spoke about this Azim Premji study, which highlights the hit the education system has taken, and it's all research-based, how our children are really regressing and how we have to bridge the gap. Okay, and the solution are not just in the government, the solution, we have to come up with the solution, the teachers have to find the solution, we have to brainstorm, we have to think what we can do, and then we have to upskill our teachers, use this pandemic, collaborate with parents, address the mental health issues, organize counseling sessions, and our new normal is still not a very rosy picture, and we have to still see that how do we address these concerns of parents, of the school, the government, the medical concerns, and how do we make sure that our child with special need is still able to, follow the protocol. The SOPs are there, but how difficult it will be for our child to follow it. So it's a very uncertain time still for our children. And then I was talking about the roadmap. So this, I think you were able to see. Were you able to see all this?
No, you just put it on.
Okay. All right. So these are the steps taken by the AIU. Now, RCI is working, for developing these training programs, as I said, that not just for school teachers, but for staff in higher education level, as well as students of engineering, management, medicine, architecture. Particularly, they were focusing on engineers and management trainees from management institutes who are doing their MBA programs, that they need to have an internship in organizations working for rehabilitation of persons with disabilities, because that will sensitize them. So when they come out, after becoming the full-fledged professional, their whole outlook will change. And so this is a remarkable step, I would say, and I am sure that RCI is going to work very diligently and at a very fast pace to make this happen. And finally, I was focusing on the MOU between NCT and RCI, which will be a historical move when it happens. And now when the mandate is given by the government, it is going to happen. There is no shying away, because the NCT have their own ego issues and RCI will have their own ego issues. And you know how we all are. We all like to work in our silos and we don't want to collaborate because I know more than you. It's inherent in us. But now when you have the government danda, aapko koi choice hi nahi hai. So you have to collaborate and you have to work together. Okay. And that will bring a huge change, because abhi kya ho raha hai, अलग अलग करिकुलम है, एनसीटी का अलग करिकुलम है, आरसीआई का अलग करिकुलम है. जो जनरल एजुकेशन का ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम है उसमें इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन की बहुत कम बात की जाती है, और हमारे करिकुलम में जनरल एजुकेशन की बहुत कम बात की जाती है. प्रैक्टिकल ट्रेनिंग नहीं है. हमारे टीचर्स को किस चीज की ट्रेनिंग है? 1-to-1 टीचिंग, 4 बच्चे, 5 बच्चे, स्पेशल बच्चे, दैट्स इट. सो अगर उनको हम एक रेगुलर क्लास में खड़ा कर देते हैं जहां 60, 70, 80 बच्चे हैं, they are not going to be able to deliver if we don't train them for that. So इस प्रकार के जब RCI के experts और NCT के experts साथ में बैठ के curriculum design करेंगे for DEd and BEd and MEd, it will make a whole lot of difference. So that is something we are really, really looking forward to. Then another very important thing that is being spoken about right now is convergence of courses. क्योंकि जब हम inclusion की बात करते हैं तो एक टीचर आईडी में ट्रेंड है, एक टीचर एलडी में ट्रेंड है, एक टीचर वीआई में ट्रेंड है, तो फिर वो डिसेबिलिटी स्पेसिफिक रह जाता है. तो वो इंक्लूजन से इट इज कॉन्ट्रडिक्टिंग द होल फिलॉसफी ऑफ इंक्लूजन. सो इसके लिए अभी फोकस किया जा रहा है कि एक टीचर जो हम 2015 में व्हेन न्यू सिलेबस वाज डेवलप्ड, तब क्रॉस डिसेबिलिटी की बात की गई थी. अभी भी हमारे सिलेबस में 2 डिसेबिलिटी का डेफिनेटली एक्सपोजर दिया जाता है. बट विद कन्वर्जेंस ऑफ कोर्सेज किसके ऊपर स्ट्रेस दिया जा रहा है कि जो एक टीचर है वो अलग अलग तरह की डाइवर्सिटी को एड्रेस कर पाए, एंड नॉट जस्ट 2 डिसेबिलिटी और 1 डिसेबिलिटी. तो उसमें कन्वर्जेंस ऑफ कोर्सेज में क्या अभी करिकुलम बन रहा है? क्या बन रहा है? बीएड, एमएड, डीएड का जो प्रोग्राम है वो एक होगा फॉर फिजिकल डिसेबिलिटीज, ब्लाइंड एंड लो विजन. एमएड, बीएड एंड डीएड का दूसरा प्रोग्राम बनेगा फिजिकल डिसेबिलिटीज, हियरिंग इम्पेयरमेंट एंड स्पीच प्रॉब्लम्स. फिर एमएड, बीएड एंड डीएड का करिकुलम बन रहा है फॉर आईडी, ऑटिज्म स्पेक्ट्रम सिंड्रोम एंड एसएलडी, स्पेसिफिक लर्निंग डिसेबिलिटी, ASD and ID all together in one course. So initially लोगों को लगा कि ये तो बहुत गलत हो रहा है. अभी जो आईडी की ट्रेनिंग है उसी में आप एएसडी की भी बताओगे, एसएलडी की भी बताओगे, तो क्या टीचर्स निकलेंगे बाहर? I just want to share here that initially way back in early 1990s we had a multi-category course which was 1 year BEd program and 1 year एमएड प्रोग्राम. सो उसमें हम लोग वैरायटी ऑफ डिसेबिलिटीज की ट्रेनिंग देते थे. एचआई का हमारे पास रिसोर्स पर्सन नहीं थे, तो ओनली एचआई वाज लेफ्ट आउट. बट उस समय के जो ट्रेनर्स है, अगर आज हम उनसे बात करते हैं, दे आर ऑल डूइंग सो वेल बिकॉज दे फील दैट दे कैन एड्रेस अ वैरायटी ऑफ नीड्स. Whereas जो आज हम the teachers we are churning out today are only specializing in one specific disability, and they are doing very well only in that area of disability. So the argument was, when we converge these courses, will it be effective? जो teachers बाहर निकल के आएंगे, will they be trained well enough, or it will be like a piecemeal thing? उनको थोड़ा 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 सबका jack of all and master of none वाली policy होगी. But eventually, keeping the NEP in mind, this was, क्या बोलेंगे कि भी इसी के ऊपर स्ट्रेस दिया गया. This was okayed, other point of view was rejected, and it was said, and already the curriculum is being developed on the premise of convergence of courses. So similarly, MEd, BEd and DEd इसमें multi-disability, deaf blindness and cerebral palsy, इनको एक कोर्स है, ये एक कोर्स है. So इस प्रकार से ये कोर्सेज क्लब किए गए हैं. Similarly, PG diploma and diploma in education in early intervention and child development is also another course which is being developed. So these are the major changes which are happening when we talk about, when we are basically looking at the NEP and the roadmap and its implementation. These are the major changes I wanted to share कि ये हो रहा है. So we don't have to be very pessimistic. If we keep our face to the sunshine, we cannot see a shadow. In other words, we have to be optimistic. Sometimes being an optimistic fool also helps, because it gives that hope. It gives that glimmer that it's not dead end at the end of the tunnel. There is a ray of hope. So all teachers, जो हेलन केलर ने बोला है, उसको अगर हम इम्बाइब कर ले और एक उस पॉजिटिव अप्रोच से आगे बढ़े और सोचे कि नहीं, हमें करना है, हम कर सकते हैं और होगा. So that belief system will help us in unfolding the NEP 2020. Albert Einstein said, life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. I want to end with this note, because we have to keep moving. Stagnation is death, right? We all understand that. So in our capacity, I'm reiterating that point again and again. You cannot move mountains. You cannot make, major changes. But in my capacity, in your little capacity, whatever little change I can make, just be responsible for that. Just be accountable for that. कल को आपको ये नहीं होना चाहिए कि मैं ये कर सकती थी पर मैंने किया नहीं. Again, I'll share my personal experience with you. I have become the head of the department not many years back. It's been just 4 years. And in these 4 years, I told myself that I have to do whatever I can in my capacity, because God has given me this opportunity of decision making, right? So I will do whatever best I can do. So I'm sharing this with you, that you, in the capacity of being just the teacher in your class, do whatever it takes to make that journey going, not stopping at any point. Okay, now time for questions and reflections. Please feel free to ask me anything. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Professor Sujata, for such an enlightening, in-depth, informative, session on NEP, what it entails, and the way forward. And as you rightly said in your presentation, that as teachers, we need to be creative, innovative, or else, we are inviting our redundance to our children. So very, very important, and very rightly said, because what we have seen is there are people who feel that we can do homeschooling, but homeschooling does not mean sitting at home and your child is studying, doing self-study, or parents are teaching. If homeschooling also requires a structure, also requires guidance, also requires, specialized techniques. And we have seen that not many are successful with homeschooling if there is no structure. And our children do need structure. They do need a formal setup. and we need to do something about it. We need to be we need to move, we need to be 10 step ahead of our children, because what we see now is our children are training us, our children are teaching us, our children know much more than we know, because of the exposure they have.
Not. We are learning still. They are born with technology.
Absolutely.
So obviously they are a step ahead
Absolutely,
of us.
absolutely. And we end up learning from them, and which is absolutely welcome and appreciative. But at the same time, our children do need structure, our children do need discipline in life, our children do need to understand the importance of punctuality, regularity, discipline. And that comes from us teachers when we are with them. But how we inculcate these in our children depends upon how like you said, not just updating our skills, of course we need to, but also how we present ourselves to our students, how we make them listen to us, appreciate us, and take us seriously, and contribute as citizens to this country. So thank you so much. And I can see that people have appreciated your presentation. They found it very informative. There is one question.
Timeline is 2030 to see in implementation in all its totality. Now, again, I will be very practical. It's again, it will be further, extended. But right now, they say 2030. Yeah. So we are working towards it, but to implement it for fully, in its entirety, may take a little longer, because these things do take time. But yes, the government is taking that initiative, and RCI is in it, NCT is in it. So a lot of things are being done. While we are talking, a lot of things are happening in the country in that direction. So these things do take time, and it will happen. It will happen.
There is one statement, not a question, but maybe Asra has just made a statement that focus is now more on mother tongue.
Yeah.
So would you want to say something on that?
Yeah, it is so that the child comprehends what is being done in the class. Also, see, this policy is very rooted. It wants our children to get connected with their roots. Somewhere we feel that all over the world, staying connected to your culture and your roots takes them forward. Look at Japan. Why are we always imitating the West and, forgetting our roots? Like, speaking in English comes naturally to us. I told you I'll switch over to Hindi, but किसी ने ज़्यादा बोला भी नहीं और मेरे को भी वो automatically हुआ भी नहीं. Generally you see in the chat कि please, then you tell, okay, तो वो inherently तो हम लोग कहीं तो अलग हो रहे हैं. So this whole philosophy of where we started, जो हमारा गुरुकुल system था, so it says कि हमारा इतना rich culture, इतना rich education system था, तो how can we are not talking about regression, जो ये myth है कि हमको यहाँ पे हम न्यूक्लियर पावर की बात कर रहे हैं, मून पे जाने की बात कर रहे हैं, और ये पॉलिसी तो हमको फिर वही अपने 4 कमरे में ला देगी. It's not that. It's certainly not that. It is just that we have to stay connected. And talking about mother tongue is just so that the child understands, comprehends, and knowing your mother tongue is essential. So if a child has difficulty in understanding, उसको mother tongue पढ़ाने में क्या दिक्कत है ना? And खासकर हमारे बच्चे, तो मैं कहती हूँ हमारे लिए तो बहुत बड़ी एडवांटेज है. स्पेशल बच्चों को अगर आप मदर टंग में पढ़ा रहे हैं तो उनका एक वो लैंग्वेज बैरियर ही हट गया. So we should be happy about it, right?
Thank you. Any more questions for Professor Sujata Bhar? No?
All right. Okay.
Okay.
So then I'll take your leave. Thank you, Dr. K. Thank you, Masrat, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. Thank you.
And I really, really wish that this pandemic ends and we have these conversations face to face.
Oh, yes.
That makes a huge difference. So I'm really praying to God that please end this and let's get back to our routine, normal life. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. All the best for your rest of the program, which you have so beautifully conceptualized. All the best for its success, and keep the good work going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye, everybody. Bye
Bye.
bye, everybody.
So we have, thank you, Mr. Amandeep. Thank you so much. We really appreciate, and we look forward to you being with us in future too. Thank you. Thank you. So we have our schedule uh, for the week. You can have a look at it. Uh, it's on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and please spread the word around. So this first week is on screening and identification. Second week is on, basically talking about smart teaching and students thriving. So it's on strategies, study skills and strategies, again in 3 languages, Hindi, English, Marathi. So we have reserved Wednesdays for Hindi, Thursdays for English, and uh, Fridays for Marathi. So do spread the word around. I'm sure a lot of people will benefit from this, especially the Hindi and Marathi speaking population. And do participate in the Go Red campaign, do participate in spreading the word around, not just in the month of October, but especially in the month of October because it is the World Dyslexia Awareness Month. But we would want you to be a part of the campaign every day with every child that you come across. Thank you so much. And we look forward to you participating and in our various activities. We have the launch of the talent show, which will go live tomorrow at 10 a.m. on MDA's event page. So do look out for it. We have some lovely videos and artwork, and we hope that you would be there to applaud and appreciate the work of our children. Thank you so much.